Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule as well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Agnal. The title of this video is Seek Ye Out of the Book of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and read. Right, and basically just wanted to some prophecies here. I got Obadiah, and get some other stuff. So anyway.
And I think that President Trump views this as the last best opportunity to reach some sort of arrangement before he has to commit to Mr. Netanyahu's war with Iran. Now, that may still happen, and I think the president has made that clear. I think he's put himself in a very difficult position. He doesn't have much maneuver room, even though privately he's clearly walked back all of the extreme measures that were outlined in what was effectively an ultimatum to the Iranians. And I think this is a point of serious concern for Mr. Netanyahu, because clearly, if all we're going to demand is that they remain at the 60% uranium enrichment threshold, and otherwise we're largely jettisoning the remaining demands that were made, that certainly does not serve Mr. Netanyahu's long-term purpose. Remember, Mr. Netanyahu made it very clear he wants the Libyan solution for Iran, and I would argue that that's Mr. Zelensky's solution for Russia. So Mr. Trump is now dealing with two recalcitrant supposed allies with whom we have no official treaty whatsoever in either case. But nevertheless, we regard Zelensky and Netanyahu as allies.
Here's what you said earlier with our friend Colonel Davis about the military strength of Iran. Chris, cut number 15.
What nation on the planet can have their embassy destroyed in another country and to have an assassination in their capital city on an inauguration and not go to war with somebody? Yet that's exactly what Iran didn't do, because they don't have the power to do it. So that should tell you.
Wait a minute. That's a fundamentally false statement.
Which part?
False. They don't have the power to go to war. You haven't looked carefully at Iran. Iran's arsenal of missiles is enormous. It could flatten Israel in a day. They have the power to go to war. They have chosen repeatedly to avoid war. And I've said this 1,000 times. No one in the Middle East is interested in a war except Israel and the United States.
This is the Trump foreign policy establishment. Vance, Hegseth, Rubio, Gorka, Waltz. Do they understand that?
What is the foreign policy of the United States? I think the foreign policy of the United States is two-dimensional. On the one hand, it's whatever President Trump says on any given day. And on the other hand, it's the permanent neocon bureaucracy of which his administration is a part. So I think you've got two dimensions there. He is very impulsive. I see no strategy, no coherent approach of any kind to anything, whether that involves widespread deportation of illegal aliens, the systematic securing of the border, ending the war in Ukraine as quickly as possible, or anything else. Where is the strategy? What is the approach? What's the framework? I don't see anything. So we're back to, well, it's whatever President Trump said today or yesterday. And I'm sure he's quite satisfied with that. And on the other hand, all of these other people you mentioned, somebody said recently, if you hire clowns, then you get a circus.
All right, there you go. It was a quick little 3-minute video, 4-minute, whatever the case may be. Let me grab something real quick. We just put this in the background, right? All right, so anyway, this is Obadiah verse 1. It says, Obadiah 1, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai concerning Edom, right? Edom is Esau, right? The so-called white man, right? It says, we have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. So it's talking about Esau. Esau is greatly despised among the heathen, right? And it's starting to show, people are hating the Amalekites, which are the JOOs, right, over in the land of Israel, and also Esau, Edom in general, even now, so America too, because America is tied with Israel, right? And that's being shown in these last days. It says in verse 3, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, And though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Right. So I'll grab some precepts, as we go. It says Malachi 1:4, it says, whereas Edom saith, matter of fact, I'll just get it from the top. It's Malachi 1:1. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, said the Lord Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, said the Lord Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. It says, whereas Edom saith, we are in province, but we will return and build desolate places. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord Yahweh have indignation forever, right? And that's righteous anger that the Lord has against these devils, right? Esau, even the so-called white man, rightfully so, because we're going to get into it, them coming against, of course, the Israelites, and even coming against the Lord, right? And even now plotting and planning how they're going to come against the Lord Yahushua when he returns. Verse 5 in Obadiah 1 says, if thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? Right? And it's basically going to what? The fact that Esau Edom is going to be destroyed, and nothing's going to be here, right? A complete, utter destruction, a total obliteration. Jeremiah 49:10 says, I'll start at 9. It says, Jeremiah 49:9 says, if grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If these by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. See, so it's prophesied in the Bible that Esau will be totally destroyed, nothing left, right? Verse 6 in Obadiah 1 says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Verse 7 says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wing under thee. There is none understanding in him, right? And we clearly see that now in these last days, right? First of all, there's no understanding, there's no wisdom, with Esau even in these last days and how they're moving, right? They're just going about trying to, take lands from people, telling people what they can and can't do, telling Greenland people to come against them, telling Iran can't have a nuke, telling China they can't go to Taiwan, all of these different things. And it's not wise, what they're doing. This is Revelations 17 and 16. It says, because, going to the point where all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, it says the men that are at peace with thee have deceived thee. And that goes into these vassal states, that you see that America is dealing with, like the EU, who's turning away from them. Even Greenland, like I just mentioned, they're trying to take Greenland, and Greenland's like, no, they're partners, but Greenland doesn't want America to take control over them and take their land. So verse 16, Revelation 17 and 16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Yahweh hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. Right? So what? It says that these 10 horns will burn America with fire. And that's what it's talking about here in Obadiah 1 and 7, where it says, all the men back in Confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, right? So they're going to go to war, and they're going to, come against Babylon the Great. Obadiah 1 and 8, shall I not in that day, said the Lord Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out the mount of Esau? So there's no more wisdom in Esau Edom, right? The so-called white man. It says, and my mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that every one of the mount of Esau will be cut off by slaughter, right? So basically, they're going to lead themselves to an early grave because they're lacking wisdom in the things that they're doing and how they're moving about the world right now, right? Jeremiah 49 and 7 says, concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim shall host, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Right? In the NLT, it says, this message was given concerning Edom. This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Is there no wisdom in Teman? Is no one left to give wise counsel? And the answer is yeah, it's not there. Going back to Obadiah 1:8, because it says what? Shall I not in that day, said the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. So the Most High has put basically cut off their wise men to the point where they're going to lead themselves, like I said, to the grave. They're not ruling in wisdom right now. Verse 10 says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. See, so because of what Esau Edom did to us, the Most High Yahweh is going to cut them off. So it's already prophesied that that's going to happen, right? And there's no escape from this. This is Ezekiel chapter 25, start at verse 12. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua power, because that Edom have dwelt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and have greatly offended, and revenge himself upon them. See, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and will make it desolate. It says, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Dan shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger, and according to my fury, and they shall know that my vengeance, saith the Lord, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Right. So once we get the kingdom, we take these devils into slavery, then they'll see the power of the Lord, that He has put on us, right, to rule them. The scriptures say, that we'll have a two-edged sword in our hand, and these devils are going into hardcore bondage soon, Let me keep going here in Obadiah 1 and 10 again. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his horses, and foreigners enter into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was one of them. See, so even Esau Edom was there saying what? Raise it, raise it. Let's get this Samuel 1, 1 Samuel 15. 1 Samuel 15:2. Sorry, 1 Samuel 15:1. It says, Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord Yahweh sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord Yahweh. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. It says, now go smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not. They slay both. It says, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. See, so this is the Most High totally destroying Esau Edom, totally obliterating everything they have and everything they own. All right, but verse 12 in Obadiah says, but thou shouldst not have looked on the day of thy brother, and the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. It says, thou should have not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yet thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. It says, neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. Right? So that's exactly what Esau did. Let me grab this. This is Exodus 17. And I'll probably grab this in the NLT. This is Exodus 17 and 15. It says, Moses built an altar there. Let me see. Matter of fact, I'll start at 13. Exodus 17 and 13. It says, as a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. After the victory, the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua instructed Moses, write this down on a scroll as a permanent reminder, and read aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nissi, right? Which means the Lord is my banner. He said, they have raised their first, he said they have raised their fist against the Lord Yahweh Bashmiah's throne. So now the Lord Yahweh will be at war with Amalek generation after generation. See, so there's no turning back from the judgment that's set against Amalek, right? And they're going down, right? It's all over the news, that they're failing. The nations are saying that they don't recognize Israel as a true state or anything like that. The most Amalek could get is a two-state deal, probably. They probably messed that part up too. All right, let me see. Let me grab some more over here real quick. This is Deuteronomy 25 and 17. It says, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee. So that's the back, right? The people in the back, usually, probably women, children, weaker people. It says, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh. Therefore it shall be when the Lord Yahweh thy power hath given thee rest from all thy enemies round about, and the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth thee for inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. So we're not going to forget this. The Lord ain't forgetting it, right? The Lord remembers every day, So let's see. Continuing on in Obadiah 1:15, it says, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall be returned upon thine own head double, right? And this is talking about Esau Edom, the so-called white man, right? And his little brother Amalek, right? The JWOs over there in the land of Israel. Make sure this is still going over here. It's good. All right. So this is Revelations 13 and 9. It says, Revelation 13:9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints, right? And it's something we're waiting for. This is righteous judgment, right? Because Esau even was given the sword to rule and to, do what he do. So he has done it, right? And now he's at his end, pretty much. So I need to, I got to pause this real quick. And I'll be right back. All right, and this is a good video right here. I like this video. Angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him, that being Yahushua, right? The kingdom of Yahushua. You can be subscribed and edified. This is Manat Azak, right? Ba Namyam Ban Yum. All right, 144. So go ahead and subscribe to that. All right. Anyway, we're back. All right. So let me go ahead and continue in Obadiah 1:16. It says, I'll start back at 15. It says, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. It says, for as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yeah, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they have not been. Right? And the scriptures say double. They gonna hold on. They gonna drink that double. This is Jeremiah 16. And 18. I'll start at 17. It says Jeremiah 16 and 17. For mine eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. And first I will recompense in their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land, they have filled mine inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. Now this is talking about the Israelites, of course, but this is also said for Esau Edom. I believe it's somewhere in Revelations. This is Revelation 6, 18 and 6. It says I'll start at 1. This is Revelations 18 and 1. The subtitle thing there says Babylon is fallen, which is America, right? And that goes into the Amalekites, which are the JOOs, right? And of course, the regular Edom, right? Esau Edom, so-called white man. So verse 1 says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Right? Because Babylon the great will be utterly destroyed, nothing left, just a waste wilderness, and then it'd be filled up with desert creatures. Verse 3 says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? So the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through America, right? And that's why you have now trade wars, because trade wars is effective, especially when you're dealing with Babylon the Great. It says, and let's see what's up with this person now. All right, whatever, back again. The edification is going out, right? So anyway, back where we was at, the destruction of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and the downfall of Babylon the Great, which is America, right? That's where we're at in the world, and we're prophesying about it to warn our people that the destruction is coming, and it won't be an easy thing, right? You have to go through Jacob's trouble, right? The heathen coming out with great wrath. That is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, whom we are prophesying against. They're going to come against our people. Even going back to where I said Jeremiah 17 and 16, that point was said just now. Let me see. Where is that at? Jeremiah 16, around verse 18. Let's slack your bear me while I look through this real quick. All right, so anyway, I was looking for something else. I can't think of the scripture right now. Let me see. All right, so I can't find a scripture right now. I can't even think about it. Let me just continue on. But yeah, like I was saying, Esau Edom is going to come down with that great wrath, pushed on to prophecy, because he knows they have but a short time. As we prophesy his downfall and it gets closer and closer to the end, he's going to come down with that great wrath upon our people that are of a sinful, a people, basically, not following after the Lord, not keeping the commandments, not rehearsing the righteous acts, whatever the case may be. So anyway, continuing on, start at 15 again. This Obadiah 1 and 15, it says, For the day of the Lord Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually, yet they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though as they had not been. It says, But upon the Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. I'll read that again. It says, verse 17, But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. So what? In the end, the Lord will choose Israel, the Lord being Yahweh, right? And give us the possession of the heathens. And that's found in Isaiah 14 and 2. You see. That's like you bear with me. All right, continuing on. Verse 18 of Obadiah 1 and 18, it says, And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh, Bashmiel, shall have spoken it. Right, so this is destruction that's prophesied against Esau, Edom. His place will be found no more. Let me grab some of that. Here's Psalm 37. All right, so let me read a little bit of this until I find the point here. This is Psalm 37. It says, verse 1, Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord Yahweh and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. It said, Delight thyself also in the Lord Yahweh, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord Yahweh, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. It says, Rest in the Lord Yahweh, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. It says, Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off, but those that wait upon the Lord Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. So Esau even will be cut off, right? Verse 10 says, For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yeah, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. So Esau, Edom will be, totally ripped up out of his place and utterly destroyed. Once he goes to slavery, after a period of 1,000 years, Esau will be rounded up and burnt, fired, just like it says here in Obadiah 1 and 18. And I'll read it again. It says, And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. Now I'll read that again. In Psalm 37 and 10, it says, For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be, yet thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. Right? May I continue? It says, But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in abundance of peace. It says, The wicked plotteth against the just, and garnish upon him with his teeth. The Lord Yahweh shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. Right? So Esau's day is coming, right? It says, The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy. Who's the poor and needy? The Israelites, right? It says, And to slay such as be upright conversation. The scripture say they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. They don't want to hear his word going forth. our people nor the heathen, because it's all bad news. There's no good news for them. Those that are against the Lord, right? It says, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. So, basically their own weapons that they have performed, is going to fall upon themselves. It says, a little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but the Lord Yahweh upholds the righteous. All right. So yeah, it goes into it. Psalm 37. Continuing on over here in Obadiah 1:19, it says, and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the palm of the and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain, the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead, right? And this is basically the land that was promised to us, right? All of it. It says, but we will possess the whole world, right? Jerusalem, Israel will just be our hub, It says, in the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, in the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sephard, shall possess the cities of the south. So it's just going to, the promised land, that was promised to us. We'll possess all of that, right? Because what? It says in the scriptures that Jerusalem shall be trodden down to the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So their time is up. We can even grab Lamentations real quick. Lamentation 4:20. It says, I'll start at I'll do it in NLT. Lamentation 4:21. It says, are you rejoicing in the land of Uz, O people of Edom? But you too must drink from the cup of the Lord's anger. You too will be stripped naked in your drunkenness. It says in verse 22, O beautiful Jerusalem, your punishment will end. You will soon return from exile. But Edom, your punishment is just beginning. Soon your many sins will be exposed. See? So that's the time we're in. That's why the shameful spewing is on this devil's glory. That's why everyone is figuring out who he is. That's why no one wants Israel to become a whole state, greater Israel, none of that, right? So, and Lord willing, as we go on, these banking elites will get exposed, for hiding so long behind the scenes, controlling different people, these JWOs that are really in control, but for the most part, it's been coming out. You have people that speak on it, and then usually, somehow they get rid of those people. But now the masses, just like it says in Job 20, that the hand of the wicked shall come upon them, and it says they shall not regard, that, I'm thinking of two scriptures here. Let me grab this. The course of their actions shall stand in the power, right? I believe it's 2nd Esdras 16, but let me grab it right here. All right, it's 2nd Esdras 15. It's 16. All right, so let me grab that 2nd Esdras 15 and 16 real quick. Yeah, so Lord willing, these people wake up to what's really going on, and they will, pursuant to scriptures. 2nd Esdras 15 and 16. It says, verse 14 says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. This is not talking about the hopeful elect. It's not talking about the Israelites. It's talking about the ruling governments, the people, and the wicked, all of them mixed together. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in power. So Lord willing, some of these top elites get touched, but pursuant to scriptures, these top elites also have bunkers, and they're going to be preserved until we come back with chains, to bind them up into slavery. So we'll see what happens. Some of them might fall off. It says in verse 21 in Obadiah 1:21, and survivors shall come up on Mount. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Right. So yeah, we are those saviors, but of course, first and foremost, the Lord. All right. We're up under the Lord. We're falling out to the Lord Yahushua. So this is Luke 22, and we're going to judge people. Luke 22 and 28, starting at verse 28. It says, ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations. What is that? The trial. We haven't lost patience. We continue in this thing, and we get the scripture saying endure to the end. We're not at the end yet. It's very close, so no time to give up. But we're enduring, you know, and then it's going to be said, ye are they which have continued with me in my temptation, and I appoint unto you a kingdom, as my father have appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. See, there you go. So we gonna be judging. We're those saviors. You know, pretty much that's been it. We probably grab some of this Job 18. I was gonna grab Job 22 because of what I got. That's the end of the wicked coming upon them, those people. You know. So anyway, just touch that real quick. Job 20 and 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fear of his wrath upon him and shall rain upon him while he's eating. So this is talking about these bank elites, because this is their plan. You know, this is their plan to control the world, right? And they are Amalekites, right? The Amalekites control the world. If you go back into history and things like that, you know, going back to the money, following the money, these devils set that system up. You know, the Federal Reserve and all of that. That's why you have these paper notes now, right? And this system is changing now, right? That's why you get the Habakkuk 2. You know, the people say basically woe to him that, let me grab it real quick. I'm gonna butcher it. Habakkuk 2:5, 6. Habakkuk 2 and 6 says, shall not all these take what parable against him? And it's talking about the people, right? It says, shall not all these take what parable against him? And they talk in poverty against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that laid himself with thick clay, right? And you can follow along, go read it, you know, if I'm speaking too fast or whatnot. It says that thick clay is debt, right? The money. So the people are saying, you know, how long shall this continue? And it can't continue much longer. That's why you have gold prices now about to hit $3,300. You have BRICS nations. You have people trying to find alternative ways to get around the collapse of America, you know. So the wicked is the regular civilians that's going to come against, you know, these devils in these last days, right? When they're about to fill their belly. Grab some of this. Job 18:5 NLT. Surely the light of the wicked will be snuffed out. The sparks of their fire will not glow. The light in their tent will grow dark. The lamp hanging above them will be quenched. The confident stride of the wicked will be shortened. You know, that's these devils walking around more stout than their fellows, so prideful, you know, like they got it all in control. Even the people up under them, you know. It says, their own schemes will be their downfall. See, their own schemes that they have set up is their downfall. This MOTB is a test of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? But none of it will succeed. It says the wicked will walk into a net. They fall into a pit. The whole setup of the world has been a net and a pit for Esau Edom. You know, him coming to America was a net, because why? America is prophesied to be destroyed. It says a trap grabs them by the heel, a snare holds them tight. A noose lies hidden on the ground. A rope is stretched across their path. Terror surround the wicked and trouble them at every step. You know, and that's pretty much the point. You know, so Lord willing, we edify from the lesson. I'll say shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.